In this module, we are going to look at how to create a web API project. So let's start it. The first thing I'm going to do is just open the Visual Studio and simply go to the file new project, and there you will see the install templates, and inside this install option you will get a list of templates. Well, we are interested in Visual C#, so let's expand this, and then it will ask you that what kind of project you want. Well, you all know that in this course we are going to build the web APIs in ASP.NET Core. So let's select this web option, and on the right hand side you will see further templates associated with this web option. And you can see that in this window we have two options. The one is for ASP.NET Core Web Application, and the other is for ASP.NET Web Application that based on full .NET framework. But this second option is only available for Windows machine, because you can't run this second application on other platforms like Linux or Mac. And the first option is for all kind of users like Windows, Linux, or even Mac. So in this course we are going to work with ASP.NET Core application. Just make sure you have properly installed Visual Studio 2017 in your machine. Alright, there are some other differences between ASP.NET Core and ASP.NET, and let's talk about these differences. Well, as I already said, that ASP.NET Core is a cross-platform. It means that you can build your application for Windows, Mac operating system, as well as Linux. And on the other hand, in simple ASP.NET, we can only build application for Windows. The IDE or developing tool we are going to use in ASP.NET Core applications are Visual Studio, Visual Studio for Mac, or even Visual Studio Code using C# and F#. And on the other hand, if we talk about simple ASP.NET, then there is only one option, and that is Visual Studio. Another important aspect is that the performance of ASP.NET Core application is higher as compared to simple ASP.NET application. So that's some major differences between these two frameworks. Let's go back to the Visual Studio. And you all know that in this course we are going to build applications for ASP.NET Core. So simply select this ASP.NET Core template and then just name this template to whatever you like. Well, I'm gonna name this to module 1. And right after that you will need to specify the location where you want to store that project. Well, by default it automatically picks some location, but if you want to store this project to some other place like your desktop, then you can easily select that as well. Alright, now just click this OK option, and there you will see another window, and that says what kind of approach you want to use in ASP.NET Core application. Well, there are some other templates like empty template, which basically don't have any content inside it. The other is web API template, which basically used to create the RESTful based web APIs. And the third is web application template, which basically used to create the websites via Razor Pages. And the fourth is web application via MVC or module view controller. And you can build the MVC application with this template. And there are few other templates, but we are not gonna cover these. In this course our concern is with the web API. So what I'm gonna do is I'll simply select this web API template and then hit OK. And this will create a new project for me. Well, now the project has been created, and at first you will see some kind of ASP.NET Core window, and we will use this to publish our web APIs to Microsoft Azure or other third-party hosting services. Well, we will talk about this option later in this course. And right now we are going to close this. And at first we are going to explore the project architecture. So on the left hand side you will see a Solution Explorer option. And if you don't see this, then simply search for Solution Explorer and select that. Now in this solution we have a one project, and that is module 1. And inside this project we have connected services option that basically used to publish or host the web APIs. And then we have another option, and that is dependencies. And in this dependencies all the references, DLL files, SDKs and NuGet packages will be placed. Then we have properties, which we will explore in a moment. Right after that we have www root folder, which basically used to hold all the static content like if you want to put some HTML, CSS, JavaScript files, then you have to place those files in this root folder. Alright, now we have another folder, and that is controller. Well, in this controller folder, we will add our controller classes, which basically responsible for getting data, adding the data, updating data, and deleting the data from the database. And by default, there is a value controller class already placed inside this controller folder, which we will talk in a moment. Then we have another option, and that is app-settings.json file. Well, when we will work with Entity Framework, then we will put our connection string in this file. But right now we don't have any database involved, so let's ignore this for a moment, because we will explore this file when we will work with Entity Framework. After this, we have two different files. The one is program file and the other is startup file. Well, let's open this program file.cs, and here we go. And that's the entry point of this application. Well, if you have worked with C# console application and Java application, then you know that there is one main method, and this main method is used to run the application. Well, same is the case with ASP.NET Core Web Application. Well, this main method contains a build web host method, and that's basically used to create a host, build it, and then run it. And whenever call goes to this main method, it will use our startup class. Now we need to figure out what basically the startup class is and how to deal with the startup class. Well, for this purpose, let's open this startup class, and inside this class you will see that we have two methods. The one is configure services and the other is configure method. Well, it already says that this method gets called by the runtime, and we basically use this method to add services to the container. This container is used to add the dependency injection. We will cover dependency injection as we will move forward in this course. Also, this method is used to handle the services in our application, like MVC services, authentication services, or Entity Framework services. Later in this course, we will use the Entity Framework service to work with our database, because we are using the MVC pattern, so that's why this method is used to add the MVC services here. And now you are thinking that what's the purpose of this second method, that is configure. Well, in this method we basically use the services. For example, in this configure service method we have added the MVC, and inside this configure method we will use this MVC. Don't worry, I will give you a practical demo of this thing, and then you will get a clear idea of how things actually work. But before this, let me run this application. Well, this will be appearing in my default web browser, and here we go. Now you will see that the following data appears in my web browser, and that's because this value controller has a get method, which basically return these two values. Now the question is why we are gonna getting these values. Well, to answer this question, I'm gonna open this launch settings.json file, and you can see that in this file our launch URL is defined, and currently it's been set to API/values, and that's why we run the application, then this default URL will be involved and we get the data from this controller. Also in this file we have some other option, and the most interesting is launch browser, and currently it's set to be true. And if you want to run your application but do not want to open the browser, then just set this to false. And this time if you run this application, then you will see that this application is running but our web browser is not firing up. And that's a use case, because later in this course we will not use the web browser. In fact, we will use another third-party tool for our API testing, and that is Postman. But for now, let's explore this application by simply going into the startup file. And in order to understand the functionality of these two methods, I'm gonna comment this add MVC and again run this application. And soon we will get a runtime exception, and that says it's unable to find the required services. Please enable the add MVC service. So let's uncomment this code, and now let's comment out this line of code that's written in configure method. And now we have MVC service, but we are not using this. And when I run this application, then you will see that we do not get any value from this URL. And that's because we have not used this MVC service. So if I uncomment this code and run this application, then this time you will see that we will get these two values. I have chosen this Web API template so that all things will be clear to you. Also, this value controller is already present inside this controller folder, but we want to start our work from scratch. So in the next module, we will start out with the HTTP verbs. So see you in the next module.